everyone, Samhita here. Welcome back to my channel. It is literally so cold today. My hands are freezing and I'm fully covered. I'm still feeling so cold. So stay warm. Happy holidays. Winter always gives me mixed feelings. Like it's so cold, and you kind of don't want to do anything, and like you don't want to like get out of bed, in the morning. But pushing yourself to, I don't know, get up, exercise, follow a routine, even during this cozy cold weather gives that extra sense of accomplishment. So let's get that. This is not a motivational video. This video is about drugs, and this includes substances like alcohol and marijuana. And I want to like bring attention and awareness to this topic solely because I've seen a lot of people throw their life away with like drugs and marijuana. It's unfortunate that culture around us and in the world is supporting especially marijuana. Like the legalization of marijuana is crazy to me, solely because there are so many studies out there that link marijuana directly to mental health ailments like schizophrenia, dementia, etc., etc., and psychosis as well. I've seen a lot of people who've had prolonged exposure to marijuana, consistent and prolonged exposure to the substance, have a lot of delusions, have a lot of like dysfunctional um, mental health patterns and psychosis episodes. And I don't see how people are not, you know, talking and thinking about that and still advocating for the substance, talking about how there's literally no downer or there's literally no side effect or no health complication that can arise from consuming the substance, no hangover whatsoever, etc., etc. People talk about nobody's ever died from consuming a lot of weed, but people are not died, people have just gone crazy. So let's get into why you should say no to all kinds of drugs. Everybody's gonna die anyway is not a good enough reason to consume drugs for the sake of recreation. Now, number one, the quality of life. Now, if you believe that, okay, everybody's gonna die anyway, some people didn't smoke their whole lives and they got cancer, or they had a heart attack and they passed away, okay, fine, everybody's gonna die someday. But do you realize that this notion is preventing you from living to your fullest potential? Let me talk about how and why this is. The energy wavelength of our thoughts are here. Let's imagine. So our energetic wavelength when we meditate and we are more aware, more present, and more spiritually elevated is above the thought level. Our energy levels when we consume substances are below the thought level. So what happens? You think that you're escaping unwanted thoughts, anxiety, mental realms that you don't want to dwell in by consuming a substance, but that is demoting you to a place of disconnection from yourself and your thoughts. It's not promoting you to a place of rising above your thoughts, rather falling below them. So what happens when the substance is over? Your connection to yourself when you're in the normal human thought level is diminished. You crave that thoughtlessness or the free feeling of not being bound by consistent thoughts in your head, and you go back here. So this, which is your normal state of consciousness, becomes more and more of a hindrance to you and becomes less desirable to you. So you crave this. Now the problem with getting to here instead is this isn't that easy, because in order to get here, you need to get comfortable here. You need to allow your thoughts to have their say in order to transcend them, to go to a place where thoughts won't affect you as much. But nobody wants to do that work when there's such an easy shortcut available to escaping your thoughts. Why this is such a concerning thing is because falling below the thought level disconnects you from your conscious reality. It disconnects you from yourself. It disconnects you from your ability to function as a fully fledged human being with psychological, kinesthetic, spatial, etc., musical, all kinds of awareness and thought processes there might be. All of these things are diminished, and you feel like they're not that diminished when you're high. And in reality, your abilities as a person, you cannot connect to, you cannot channel. Your potential gets ruined because functioning at the thought level becomes less desirable for you, and you start craving functioning below that thought level. Now, that might have some altered sense of ability. That might give you some altered sense of, okay, when I'm high I can maybe consume content in a much more altered sense. When I'm high I might be able to draw or paint more effectively, and write poetry more effectively. But essentially you're writing from a place where your consciousness has demoted. So you might see a lot of people's drawings and paintings when they're on acid or substances or whatever recreational drugs. Those are not paintings that you get good energy from. Like when you are spiritually inclined and you do spiritual practices every day, you know what it means to derive energy from things like visual cues and people and spaces. You know that paintings that are made from a place of altered consciousness do not give you energy. They kind of have this hypnotic effect on us that drain us. So this is, I'm going a layer and step deeper than what I'm trying to say here, but if you grasp it, you grasp it. If you don't, I don't know how to delve into this right now. Because look, there are all kinds of energies in the world. We cannot escape one sect of energies, one fragment of the world. The world is filled with all kinds of things, and a lot of lower energy things are beautiful. But in our day-to-day life, it's up to us to choose which frequency we want to vibrate on. So if like lower energy things are more sort of drawing you in, that means you are more connected to lower energy things and lower energy beings and lower energy spaces, lower energy habits. The thing about the world today is like so many, the vast majority of the planet is functioning on a lower energy because there's so much accessibility to substances, there's so much accessibility to alcohol, and the culture that we spread. We celebrate with a drink, we feel sad, we go out drinking. That's not a lifestyle that really allows us to be in our full awakened connected self. So most of the world's collective energy and consciousness is on a lower frequency right now. That's why there are so many of us that are connected to things that drain our energy, and becoming aware of that is the first step, because a lot of us need to realize our responsibility towards helping the planet elevate its consciousness. And that'll only come with spreading awareness about spiritual practices, about the importance of connection to yourself. Which brings me to my second point, which is our purpose on the planet. Essentially, when it comes to evolution, when it comes to growing as a people, as communities, as a society at large, as a global society, as a soul, as a multi-leveled being of this creation, it's not to dim down our consciousness. You'll see in a lot of cultures, a lot of scriptures, religions, texts, whatever, the ultimate goal is nirvana. And nirvana is only when the consciousness elevates. And there's so much like mismatched connotation to this concept of nirvana, that oh, you have to let everything go. But in fact, it's the kind of abundance and expansion that we cannot fathom as human beings. We are put on this planet from a spiritual perspective to attain eventually, if not in this lifetime, the next, if not in that, the next, through learning, through our ability to grasp higher wisdom, knowledge, higher energy, to move up the ladder. Like, why would you wanna go back to grade 11 after grade 12? Nobody wants to regress. We all want to progress. And progress for human beings is towards a higher energy dimension. And that is something that a lot of us, a lot of the world is like diminishing. Everybody chooses regression over progression because regression is easy. You've been there before. You can repeat class 11. You know half the classes. Our purpose is not just to explore different energies on the planet. No. We have a duty towards our souls. We have a duty towards one another. And we cannot let each other fall and regress. So essentially, as a spiritual being, drugs hinder your ability to evolve as an all-rounded spiritual being, as a human being. So it's disconnecting you from your purpose, your potential, everything you could do with your life, the energies that you could be embodying, because we all know there are both negatives and positives in our life. what energy we operate on dictates what we attract. So if we attract higher energy things, higher energy people, motivated people, people who have like a healthy regimen, healthy routine, healthy like habits, that means we are those people that are operating on the frequency of living healthily, living mindfully. And if we attract people who are always, you know, partying, doing drugs, if we're around those people a lot, that means we have indulged ourselves in that kind of crowd mentality and that kind of energy as well. So it's not that I'm saying stay away from people who drink or stay away from people who like to indulge in drugs. No, there are all kinds of people in the world. But I'm saying choose for yourself. And if you're in a room full of people who do drink, there's nothing wrong with holding your glass of water and clinking glasses with them. Speaking of which, number 3, this might or might not be way out there as a concept for some people because it's not really backed up, as most things that are paranormal or parapsychological cannot be backed up, because it's like measuring water with a salt stick. The salt will dissolve, so you really cannot tangibly prove these things. Point 3, when your vibration is lowered, you attract lower energy things and beings. Hear me out. There are a lot of souls that are out there in spirit realm. I know what a lot of you are gonna say. Oh my gosh, this is such unproved nonsense. But hear me out. You attract a lot of lower energy entities. If not for souls or spirits, at least you might or might not have heard of the term pain bodies in a lot of Eckhart Tolle books. Pain bodies are entities of trauma, of pain, of loss, of separation that people are carrying around. People are carrying pain bodies. So we have our energetic self, and in that self there's like our elevated self, and then there's our shadow self. A lot of people are carrying pain bodies, and these pain bodies are operating at a lower energy frequency. Trauma, loss, sadness, these are all lower energy feelings and frequencies. Happiness, joy, abundance, growth, these are all higher energy frequencies. So essentially you are allowing yourself to operate on frequencies of lower energies, attracting thus other people's pain bodies, other entities, other things that can just latch on to you. So when you go to a crowded place and you have like more than 3 or 4 drinks, you come home feeling like not yourself. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for feeling like you're not yourself, that you've lost your sense of self. It's not just because you're disconnecting yourself, it's because you are susceptible to carrying other people's baggage when you are operating on a lower frequency. What causes us to operate on lower energy frequencies? Drugs, substances, marijuana, alcohol, hard drugs, everything. One of the most important points, point 4, that talks about spirituality through drugs, that talks about ego death, that talks about expansion of the mind, DMT production. Oh my gosh. You guys are gonna have chances after this 3-dimensional reality ends, after we die, to explore these realms. You do not need to damage your connection to your mind-body complex, and you do not need to damage your vessel and ruin your chance at human life by exploring these things prematurely. You're going to have a chance to explore the psychedelic realm. You're going to have a chance to explore things out there when you're not connected to your body, because there's only abundance out there for our souls and energies to explore. Also, if we want to visit the universe, I often talk about how if you want to go somewhere, all you do is take your mind there. Astral projection is a real thing. Taking your mind to a place you want to be is a real thing. Experiencing the world mentally is a real thing. Because when we sleep, we wander, and our energies and minds wander, and we are not connected. Our sense of self, our soul, our mind is not connected to this body. It exists beyond it as well. So this so-called ego death and spiritual understanding, all of that, okay, fine, it is connected to DMT. And you know what? DMT production can be increased in our brains when we meditate, when we have regular spiritual practice. But giving up your connection to yourself and your chance at energetic and spiritual evolution and your human potential and everything you can do to make the most out of the life you've been gifted in exchange for some DMT production makes 0 sense. Because ego death can happen in much more wholesome, energetically high ways. You do not connect spiritual evolution and spiritual growth to substances, because that is just stupidity. Substances disconnect you from your core, from your heart, from your mind, from your sense of self, from your awareness. And we are constantly evolving and understanding and learning who we are. We are constantly growing, and consuming substances when we are in our late teens, in our 20s, 30s. Oh my god, we are not going to survive that. That's not supposed to be something that should be done. This form exists, this world exists, so as human beings, we can evolve. We can learn about our karmic cycles, we can break patterns, generational curses, we can learn about relationships, about love, experience it with the five senses, experience all the world has to offer with our five senses. There's so much that we can do with this gift of life, with this body, and what is meant for this three-dimensional reality. We have a collective joint purpose rooted in elevating human consciousness, helping the world at large evolve. So we can grow, we can move towards our potential in the best way possible. We can retain our conscious ability to stay connected to ourselves, because believe it or not, it's directly proportional. Our relationships to ourselves, they're directly proportional to our contribution to the world around us and our societies. So our purpose is elevated when we are elevated with ourselves. Our relationship to our conscious mind, our bodies, it's all interconnected. When that is highly functional and good and connected, we are able to connect to the world around us and beyond. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. It was a little non-detailed, but I will get into this topic again, certainly, for sure. I was a little short on time today. So yeah, please hit the like button, subscribe, share, comment, all that jazz, and I will see you guys next time. Do not do drugs. Avoid consuming substances, and please meditate more. Bye.